Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Last time we talked about the alliance systems that caused World War I on a big scale. Now we're going to focus on the reasons the U.S. got involved. Because on the face of it, there doesn't seem to be a dog in the game here. It doesn't seem to be much of a reason for the U.S. to get involved with this. You've got big imperial powers slugging it out. We were, largely not affected by the direct causes themselves. So, why do we get involved? Well, here it is. You've got four major reasons where U.S. people begin to feel affected, or at least feel like they could identify with one side or another in the war, and that's what we're going to look at. So, at the beginning of the war, Germany did not have much of a surface navy. They could not compete with the British Royal Navy on the seas. They fought one battle and then immediately went home and tied up their ships. So that left Germany with only one option in terms of conducting war to really hurt Britain at sea, and that was using their submarine fleet. Germany had invested heavily in building a very large submarine fleet, and nobody really knew how to hunt these down, how to stop them. So what happened was the submarines went out into the Atlantic, and rather than trying to go after battleships and cruisers, which it's questionable as to whether they really could have done enough damage to sink them effectively, they started to go after merchant ships, ships that were carrying goods that Britain and France needed. Their theory was, if we destroy enough of these, Britain and France won't be able to make war. They'll have to come to a peace treaty, and we'll come to some arrangement. That was sort of the German plan at this point. So, in this vein, they went after a British ship called the Lusitania. Lusitania is a British ship, not an American ship, but there were quite a lot of Americans traveling on it, heading towards Europe. And the U.S. claimed the right of its citizens to travel in safety as a neutral power. Germany had warned us that they were going to be attacking, British shipping, not to go on British flagships. Americans patently ignored this, and several hundred died on the Lusitania when it was sunk by a German submarine. This caused a lot of upset at home. They felt that this was barbaric, that it was against the standard rules of war, which technically speaking it was, and that Americans had a right to travel on whatever damn ship they wanted, provided it wasn't a warship and they should be safe. So that was thing one. Thing two is something called the Zimmermann telegram. As it becomes more apparent that a lot of Americans are starting to support the idea of going to war and supporting the British and the French, the Germans try a desperation move. They send a note from their State Department to the government of Mexico asking the Mexicans to declare war on the United States and invade to try and get their western lands back, the lands that they'd lost in the Mexican-American War. And they said they would happily support the Mexicans somehow. I'm not sure how they intended to do that. Realistically, Germany couldn't have gotten any weapons or money to the Mexicans. The Mexicans were not stupid enough to buy this. What ended up happening, though, was the U.S. State Department got a copy of the telegram, the Zimmermann telegram, and put it in the newspaper. This changed a lot of opinions about the war. Now it seemed like Germany was conspiring against us, trying to get Mexico to invade the United States, which, by the way, was not going to happen. And that really did change a lot of minds. There's two other factors. One, when Russia drops out of the Triple Entente, Russia was an autocratic monarchy. The Tsar made all the decisions, usually fairly badly. And most Americans felt like that was an evil system and they could not ally themselves with it. Once Russia drops out, you're left with Britain and France. Yes, technically Britain is a monarchy, but they have an elected prime minister who has the power, a cabinet, they have a parliament. It's something Americans could identify with, and they felt that they could now think about this war as making the world safe for democracy, going after the great imperial monarchical powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary to turn them into democracies. That was what the American viewpoint was. So that's the kind of final piece here. There's a lot of elements. So if you have any questions, email me, text me, do whatever you need to, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.